Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Focus on Gaming podcast, episode number 72. I am Martin, and I got both Duncan and Tom.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
It's all three of us for the first time for quite a few episodes.
Between sickness and meals and
Yes.
work stuff.
Noah was very happy to join in last episode. He's told all his friends at school that he's now famous on a podcast.
And now my two want to do it as well. So maybe we should have a kids episode soon.
I'm sorry, you can only do it if you're cute, and and that's why I do the podcast, obviously.
Thank God we no longer have video. People would know.
Oh, do you say I'm not cute, Tom?
I might have just been complimenting you.
Oh, you mean I'm just too cute for video? Is that
Absolutely, yeah.
So it is. Well, actually, it's gone past it. It's this will be coming out the 9th, but it is the 30th anniversary of PlayStation, fellas. We're all big PlayStation owners, so what a subject that we all know a fair bit about, I suppose.
Happy 30th to the PlayStation.
Doesn't feel like 30 years, does it? I remember buying my PlayStation 1. Doesn't feel like
I
that
had
long.
PlayStation 1 when I was 18, so it would have been 96. Because, of course, it isn't the 30th anniversary in Europe.
Technically, it came out a year later for us, didn't it? But
yeah. And then I didn't get mine till 96, probably late 96. So Tomb Raider 2 was nearly out, I think, or was out. No, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it for me. It was the first home console that I had. I'd never had a home console before. I'd only had home computer and Game Boy. So it was the first time I'd ever owned my own console. Of course, I got it on credit because it was, I think, £200. Was it £200 the first one? Something like that. Tom's quickly typing.
I didn't have to buy mine. £299 apparently.
£299. I had mine. It came with Battle Arena Toshinden and Demolition Derby.
I think mine was Demolition Derby and Ridge Racer.
See, that was a good one. Battle Arena Toshinden was okay, but I mostly played Demolition Derby. For the time, it had destructive physics, very basic destructive physics. It was amazing. Because
I don't remember owning lots of PlayStation 1 games at the start. I mean, I had International Track and Field and things like that, but as a system, I don't remember buying loads and loads of games for it. I think I jumped straight to PlayStation 2 quite quickly, so I must have got it quite late on in its life.
You think about it. I mean, the games nowadays, people moan about them being 50, 60, 70 pounds, but 30 years ago, well, 29 years ago, they were 30 or 40 pounds. Full price games. So you had to save up if you were young and poor like me. And I only ever owned about 2 or 3 games at a time because I just swapped them out or rented them from Blockbuster. They were bloody expensive.
Yeah, Blockbuster, cracky. Forgot about that.
So what was PlayStation 1? What was the key title for you? What was it that made you get a PlayStation 1?
I wouldn't say the game that made me get a PlayStation 1 because I was pretty young when it came out, so I didn't really have a choice. But the game I remember playing was the Metal Gear Solid.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
A game I still go back to today from time to time. When they released that mini one, that was on there. So,
but it had a demo disc version, and I remember playing the demo probably tens of hours because you have just the first or a certain section that you could play, and it you could explore a little bit and do a bit of stealth and all that, and it was so good. And when I got the full game and there was all the secrets, that was that quite a late game? I don't know what year did Metal Gear Solid 1 come out? Come on, Tom, get tapping.
All I remember, I
Making you earn your money.
had one of my friends.
1998.
One of my friends was obsessed with it, and he sort of completed it probably about 10 times. So when I used to play it, he was my like Google. So the equivalent of Google back in the 90s. I'd call him up and be like, Sam, how am I meant to beat this boss? And he'd be like, oh, you need to throw one of those. I can't remember what they're called
It's
now.
like you had Psycho Mantis, didn't you? Who you had to defeat by plugging into the second controller port. Yeah,
you'd read out your memory card, wouldn't he? And,
yeah. And it was just little bits like that were just brilliant. And I mean, for the PS1 as well, the graphics were absolutely amazing. But it was the dawn of 3D graphics. It came out roughly the same time as the Sega Saturn, which didn't do 3D that great. But yeah, so just the fact that there was 3D worlds. We dreamed of this as 80s kids. Yeah, being able to walk around the world. And yeah, if you look back at it now, the graphics are crap. But it was amazing. And then and then just fighting games like Tekken and
Tekken was awesome.
Soul Blade, that brought 3D into it. Now, granted, Street Fighter didn't do very well, did it? Street
Fighter X, wasn't it?
Was it 3 or was it EX or something?
It was EX, yeah. There was two versions of it, and they were diabolical.
They weren't very good, especially when things like Soul Blade and Tekken 3 came out. Tekken 3, I played that.
Was the best. Yeah.
Tekken 2 was good as well, but Tekken 3 for me was the one.
The Tekken 3 was the one with the bowling in, wasn't it? Or was that Tag Tournament?
That's Tekken Tag, which was on the PS2. But yeah, Tekken 3.
There was something about Tekken 3, wasn't there? Like a funny thing or stupid thing.
I know Tekken 2, when you used to complete the game with a character, it would show you their little movie at the end.
And they were all ridiculous, as if like there was this big story about why they were beating the panda to death. It punched a panda because my mum was killed or something.
No animal rights people kicked off about that, but they kicked off about blood in Mortal Kombat. Go figure. Interestingly, with inflation, the game price from 1996 would now be £70 and 57 pence.
Oh, so
there we are.
As games are full price.
Yeah.
Okay. And $2.99 for the introductory price. That didn't come with any games or anything.
Just
and
the
that
demo disc.
They got a round of applause when they announced that, because the Sega Saturn was so expensive. Whereas $299, you would probably get that was probably like the Switch introductory price, wasn't it? When that came out.
I think the PS1 as well came down in price pretty quickly. I think they
did
$2.99 because I didn't pay £299.
Within a year it was down to $199. I know that. So, but it only came with the demo disc. Which had loads of games on the demo disc.
Had the T-Rex on it as well, didn't it?
Had the T-Rex. It had Destruction Derby, Ridge Racer. I can't remember what else. Maybe Dino Crisis, but I could be wrong on that. But yeah,
I used to love the Destruction Derby games as well.
Great, wasn't it? Especially
I enjoyed the one where you're on like a rooftop and you had to try and hit each other.
Yeah, it's just like a reverse tug of war. But yeah, I mean, it gave birth to so many. Crash, we had a special before. Although Ridge Racer was on other devices, that was the first or the best, sort of the one that worked really well. The Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy VII. Oh God, that game is so good. I've actually downloaded the remake of that on my Steam Deck. It's verified, so it works very well. Yeah, no, I can't get it in, but. Final Fantasy VII coming out on the PS1. I put all in all about 200 hours into that, mostly because a save game corrupted after 70 hours on the little memory card. Because I had one of those ones that you could press the button and it would had about 6 memory cards in one, but they were really unreliable. So I remember I put about 70 or 80 hours into one game and went to load it up and it said file corrupted. No, so I used my proper authentic one from then on only.
people today would not know about the memory cards. When it was like put on, you'd have to pick the memory card for the game because you'd only have so many blocks. And you'd be like, Spyro the Dragon takes up 12 blocks. I don't have 12 blocks. Be there trying to delete sort of games you don't play or whatever, like Smackdown or something. Like,
we used to. You remember Music and Music 2000?
yeah, you create your own.
And you create your own music, and if you saved a song, it could be like loads of blocks just for one song. So me and my friends would have either the multi-card one or just loads of cards lying around with the song names on them.
The first console with memory cards. Was that the first? Was it the first console to have memory cards?
Ooh.
No, it wasn't.
What did the Jaguar have?
It wasn't
Yeah,
the
it was
Jaguar.
out before the Jaguar, wasn't it?
It was the 3DO. What was it? The 3DO? No, it was off. Yeah, it was 3DO.
Yeah, 3DO was about 93, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a 3DO that I know of that had a memory card that went into the side. But after that, I don't know of any others. Obviously, you had the N64 that had one, and you had the Dreamcast, but they were all slightly after, I think.
Yeah.
So if there was one game from the first generation of PlayStation that you were to show your kids to go, this is what this generation was all about, what do you think it would be?
Well, for me, it would be Ridge Racer, but my guilty pleasure is Rugrats on the PS1.
It's an interesting one.
I wouldn't show it to them because it's diabolical, but I really loved Rugrats on the PS1.
Hang on, you're roughly the same age as me, so weren't you an adult at this point?
No, I'm still trying to get there.
So, did you go out and buy the Rugrats game, or did you inherit it?
Well, no. So a friend of mine that took my Super Nintendo, which was broken, had a few games. So we exchanged games for the Super Nintendo, which he had to put upside down to make it work in an action replay and push the cartridge forward just to get the thing to load. So I was like, take it. And in response, he gave me, I think it was about 12 PS1 games. And one of those was Rugrats and Crash Bandicoot and Dino Crisis. And I was very addicted to Rugrats for quite some time.
Any terrible games you remember?
Most of them.
There was a lot of tat at the end, especially after they started releasing games for your what they called it, the Platinum Collection and all that. So you started to get the equivalent of shovelware, but there was also a few terrible. I had the X-Files game, which
oh god, that was bad.
It was not the best. It was basically like a crap episode of X-Files. So it was an FMV game, but some of the bits you had literally a pixel to click on, and sometimes you even had timed to click on a single pixel, more or less a single pixel. Oh, it was terrible. So yeah, you couldn't complete it without a guide. It came on 4 discs, so you were constantly swapping. Yeah, I definitely regretted buying that. Although at the time I was like, full motion video.
Simpsons Wrestling was pretty dire.
Yeah, I was going to mention Simpsons Wrestling.
Oh no, I never got to play that.
Oh, that was bad.
Just bad game, bad graphics,
Bad everything. The collision, I don't know what they call it, but the collision setup on it was you didn't even touch the other wrestler at some points. So yeah, it was, the animation wasn't great. It was just crap.
So right, so second generation. Did you have that from a launch date, or were you a late joiner for that as well?
Day one, mate. Day one.
Yeah, I was a day one, but I got rid of mine because I had the crappy DVD laser, so it wouldn't play DVDs. They were all green. They would come up on the screen. Oh god! Sony wouldn't take it back because they rightly said it was the store that should take it back, and then they would send it back. The store kept saying it was Sony. So I did get a replacement. That had the same problem, and so got a Dreamcast. I did eventually get a PS2 again. But yeah, I mean...
You got a that couldn't play DVDs.
Yeah, I got a DVD console that couldn't play DVDs. Yeah.
But then
But I
you
was-
got replaced with a console that couldn't play DVDs.
No, but the games were a lot more like from day one. There was like Fantavision, and other than Tekken Tag Tournament, there wasn't. They were all crap. Weren't they? There was I think there was 8 games or something when the PS2 came out, and
Wipeout, wasn't it? Or was that
Was it-
that was PlayStation 1, wasn't it?
yeah, because I remember. Yeah, because I remember I had that. Yeah, that Fantavision and Tekken Tag Tournament, and that. Yeah, the Fantavision. It was the one with the fireworks, and you have to click the fireworks in time to make a display or something. I don't know. And yeah, it wasn't great. It was a very basic game to try and show off how pretty the PS2 was. But the PS2 did have some fantastic games eventually.
Mm.
Any particular standouts for you?
Silent Hill 2.
Oh,
Direct
well, of
Attack.
course, yes, for you. Yeah,
I love that.
Silent Hill.
San
San Andreas is obviously, and
Hit and Run.
I'm going to say Grand Theft Auto 3 because that was like the first Grand Theft Auto which came away from that bird's eye view, wasn't it?
What about Burnout?
Of course, PS1 had a GTA 1 and 2, didn't it? Ah, yeah.
It
Burnout
did.
and
Like
also
Grand Theft Auto 3 was the
Humans.
first one where
Yeah, GTA 3 and 4 came out on the PS2 era, didn't it? Yeah, and then you had Liberty City stories, or the stories from Liberty City, whatever they called it. But I don't know what actually stands out. It probably would just be San Andreas.
But is San Andreas, was that not PlayStation 3? I don't know. I might be wrong.
No, I think that. Yeah, I think it's PS2.
You had Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas.
Yeah, because San Andreas, eventually you found out that there was a jetpack on it, so you could just fly around the whole thing. But it was huge. The map was. But I don't know if either of you played it. There was a couple of levels in it that I remember. Me and my friends would sit around and just try and get through the game. It was the one with the radio controlled helicopter or plane or something. It was a bitch to complete, an absolute bit. Hundreds and hundreds of times we had to try it, and you had to do it to carry the game on. So yeah, for ages we got stuck there. No, I can't really think of any.
Gran Turismo 3 that came out.
Which one?
Gran Turismo 3. For people like racing games.
Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, and
Although,
Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. That was amazing.
Although I think soon after the PS2, although I did have an Xbox, I was a PC player then for a while. I joined the Master Race for a while.
I think Destroy All Humans was one of the best games ever on the PlayStation brand. It was just so funny. All that 1950s, 1940s humor.
Yeah, you probably had to destroy all humans, didn't you? Because that was remastered, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And a sequel came out.
Wasn't as good on the remaster, unfortunately.
No,
it lost its thing, but maybe it was just a thing of its time. I don't know, but yeah, it was still good. But I mean, the PS2, let's face it, it sold as many as it did because it had a DVD player. It was as simple as that.
Yeah, well, have you heard recently as well that Sony have suddenly announced that that the PlayStation 2 has actually sold an extra, I think they've put 5 million on the total. So it's got up to 160 million, just as the Switch was getting to 155 million.
And there's no way of them us disproving it either.
And it's convenient, that, isn't it? Oh yeah, we just happened to find some statistics in our. Look, there's the draw here. It's we just sold 5 million of them. We've just forgot. We've all got kids, and you have that with the smaller ones, don't you? Where it's like that, they haven't done something, but suddenly, if you go, "Oh, I've walked on the moon," "Oh yeah, I've done that too," and it just screams of a little kid not wanting to be beat.
Yeah. But the problem is they can't do it again, so that's it now.
Yeah, oh god, yeah. But hopefully, Nintendo have got another 5 million in them before the Switch 2. I think.
Wow.
Well, Switch
Just-
1.
According to
Just chuck
Wikipedia,
another Mario Kart update in
they're
there
on
and someone will buy it.
140 according to Wikipedia, Nintendo Switch are 146 million, so they'll need.
Oh, so
And
they
then-
got quite a few then. 14 million.
They've
15
just released the Mario Kart Deluxe set up with the Switch at a reduced price. That's going to knock out a few Switches over Christmas. So
Let's face it, though, most of the sales are going to be in the States and Japan.
I like the
and
white and black one though. The white and black.
they'll sell in Japan for years to come, so I think they'll outsell the PS2. But yeah,
So PlayStation 3.
Never owned it myself. I stopped at PS2.
Oh, PlayStation 3 was the best. Obviously, the first version was backwards compatible with the PlayStation 2 and 1. That had a 60 gig hard drive and extra ports at the bottom with a little flap that came down. But quite quickly, it was taken off the market. So
yeah, there was problems with the backwards compatibility there, wasn't there?
Yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, there was a number of games that didn't quite work on it, but I mean, they're worth money now if you can find one. But
so did they emulate the games, or did it have an emulator in it or something, or was it?
I think it had a secondary chip that was in there. It was really expensive to put in, but it made it even more difficult to code for the PS3.
Was it the cell processor? Was it PS3?
It was pretty complex, whatever it was. But I remember me and a friend who we contacted Sony. We were reviewing stuff at the time, and they sent a PlayStation 3, which he kept, and I kept the games. They sent us loads of games like Formula One and whatever else. So he got the PS3, and I got the games. And funny enough, I was in Gibraltar literally 3 or 4 months later, and they had the Metal Gear Solid boxed PS3. And my mum was going, "Oh, what's that?" And
this would have been Metal Gear Solid 3?
3, yeah. And you couldn't get the PS3 in the UK just then. It had been imported. And she said, "What's that?" So that's a new Sony console. And she knew I liked them. And then she just laid down £500 there and then. And I had to get it over the border into Spain in my suitcase and then get it on the plane as hand luggage. And I was sweating a bit, but it was well worth it. I still got it. Still got it to this day.
I remember buying the PS2 on launch date and walking through the town centre that I lived in, and just you couldn't hide the fact, because the box was so big, you couldn't hide the fact that I was just like, quick. And luckily, I had a car at the time. I was just like, quick, get back to the car.
They nicked the car and left the PlayStation.
Well, I didn't live in a particularly rough town, but equally, there was probably lots of people looking at me going, because they were going, they were about 399, something like that, 299, 399, and they were going for twice the price. Well, it wasn't on eBay back in those days. It was in your local newspaper. But back to PS3. I mean, now obviously Xbox 360 sort of won it, but then PlayStation 3 caught up.
Yeah.
But then they started to really dig into Xbox and PlayStation 4. What made PlayStation win the last 2 console rounds? Is it Xbox mistakes? Is it the better exclusives? Is it just people like PlayStation? I don't get it. I don't know why there's such a big gap.
I personally think it was the HD DVD format failed. Blu-ray became really popular for two reasons. One, the porn industry adopted Blu-ray, and Disney adopted Blu-ray. So you had an affordable player. Take in mind the Blu-ray players were £500-600 in that era, and then the PlayStation 3 at the time was $299 when it became the main format. And and then you had games like Batman, the various Batmans, Far Cry, Castlevania, Darksiders.
You got PlayStation just has more exclusives, doesn't it? When you think compared to, well, I say that, but then Xbox did have Halo, Gears of War, Forzas. So,
and I think that's why they won the Xbox 360 era. It's just at the end of the era, it sort of fizzled out a bit.
Yeah, they're not really releasing. Well, they haven't really been releasing sort of exclusives to that level, like the Halos and Gears of War. Whereas PlayStation have had, the Gods of War. I know that's originated from the PS2, but they've continued with it. The Last of Us was PlayStation 3. I was just looking at games, and actually Grand Theft Auto 5 came out on the PlayStation 3, which is just crazy considering it's still sort of in the charts.
It's still being sold. Yeah.
But yeah, and loyalty. I think loyalty is a big part of it. Like, I have friends who will just get PlayStations. They won't even look at the specs or the games on the other consoles. Because
that's right. If you're going to play with friends, if you're a Call of Duty player or a FIFA player and you're playing with your friends regularly, it's no brainer. Get what your friends have got.
I remember seeing the demo for MotorStorm. I think it was Apocalypse.
That looked really good. Didn't it?
Yeah, it was when they announced the actual machine. They showed this off, and all the mud and the graphics and the speed, and then you had Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, which was an incredible game, probably the best Need for Speed game that's ever been released, which has just been remastered recently. It was just amazing what it showed off, and obviously you could use the PlayStation Vita as a controller and a secondary screen, which was always
was
good.
that PS3 or PS4?
PS3 originally.
So they do PS4 as well on the Vita.
They did, yeah. But yeah, originally it worked on the PS3, and it could be used as a controller or a secondary screen. So
my memory of the sort of go back to PS3 was because when it was released was when I was sort of getting 18, sort of think that sort of age. So it was when I was starting to go out, and online gaming was sort of coming in at that point as well. So I remember, I think it was like Modern Warfare 3 or World at War. I used to play that with my friend, and we would play it before we would go out, and we would do shots, and every time you would die on Call of Duty, we'd have a shot. So the longer you play, the worse you'd get. So you'd end up getting more. That's probably my main memory of the PlayStation 3 and Guitar Hero. We used to play that as well before we'd go out.
On Call of Duty, I'd be absolutely wankered before you know it, because I'm not very good, especially nowadays. Oh my goodness, yeah. If I took a shot every time I died.
Well, it was shot of sour, so it wasn't like the strongest shot.
Okay.
We would finish a bottle each by the time we'd go out, and then we'd like sort of walk in to town. Sometimes we wouldn't even.
Or you'd stagger in, and somebody go, "Kill." KD wasn't great this week.
Can you imagine, Duncan, in our era playing that? It would be like Game Boy and doing like bottles of 2020 or something like that.
Well, when I moved out of home when I was 18. That was when I bought the PS1, and so I had many a good memory of getting absolutely trashed with friends. I shared a house with some friends. And we'd played Tekken, Soul Blade, Soul Calibur, all these kind of things. We'd do all sorts of.
We used to get on the headset as well, which was pretty dangerous when you had a drink, shouting at people, having an argument with someone.
Have you got any good memories of being told that somebody's had fornicated with your mother?
Yeah, we used to get that a lot. I'll be like, she gets around, doesn't she? Every lobby I'm in, I get told this.
His mum's in there.
I remember my friend one time, he's like, I had sex. He said, I can't remember. One person was like, are you a virgin? And my friend was like, no, ask your sister. And the guy was like, he was like, I don't have a sister. And he's like, you will do in 9 months. I was like, that was quick.
That was quick. Quick thinking.
Like,
I always had the one of you slept with my mom. What? So you're into necrophilia then? What's that then? You sleep with dead people. No. Well, I'm afraid you just admitted that you did. No. Little kids, and also pretending that they sound like it would mean absolutely nothing to the kids as well. So they sound like what's it called? The duck, Orville the duck.
Orville the duck, yeah.
You'll always be like this, and you go, "Oh, do you wish you could fly?" I don't speak like that. You do. Oh, stupid kids. Anyway, it's were there either of you two stupid little children that were going, screw you, little man? No. Come on, Martin. Did you trash talk when you were a little kid?
I didn't play online till the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been kids when they were playing online, would you?
No, we had deep voices at that point.
Wow.
Well, we had these voices anyway.
Yeah.
So, what have we got? We've done PS3. We touched on PS4. Now, PS4, PS3 and Xbox 360 is where, other than a few exclusives, everything's started to merge. So there's nothing really that stands out for me for both.
Just looking at Red Dead Redemption 2, but that's on every console. Grand Theft Auto 5 was on every console. The Last of Us Part 2, or The Last of Us Remastered.
That was fantastic.
Uncharted.
I still haven't played Last of Us Part 2. I'm waiting for it to come out on PC, but whether that will run on Steam Deck or not, I don't know. Probably not.
Did you play any of the Uncharted games?
Yeah, I've got the was they call it the Thieves Trilogy or something, or the Thief Pack one that's on PC, which has got Uncharted 4 and the sort of the spin-off from that with the two women. I can't remember what their names are now. So those are the only ones I've... Oh, and I played the PlayStation Vita one, which was the Golden something, wasn't it? Uncharted, the Golden Fleece? No, I don't know. But anyway, the PlayStation Vita Uncharted. Oh, they're great. I mean, they're like arcadey Tomb Raider, basically. You don't have to... Oh, the first Tomb Raider. Have you both played the original Tomb Raider plenty of times?
Yeah. Sega Saturn version.
That was such a hard game.
It was.
Especially back in the day when you didn't have YouTube, so you could just look up how to do things.
I had to wait for the magazine to come out and look through the walkthrough.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got a magazine with a full walkthrough and just went through the whole thing there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you didn't have to worry about that with Uncharted. Uncharted was just, oh look, there's a landing with a white mark on it, so I've got to go up there. But they were great. They were very cinematic. They were all very cinematic and good fun. Some good platforming. Good. I don't know. It's not really platforming. What would you call it? Traversal. I don't know. Yeah.
Of course, it
was movie was yeah.
It was the first era, wasn't it, of the Pro version of consoles as well. So,
well, the PS4 Pro.
Yeah, so it was the first time they sort of stepped into copying mobile phones, where you had like the the S, the Pro, and the whatever else.
And that is if you wanted to have a jet engine in your living room.
Yeah.
So it didn't have very good cooling, did it?
And of course, you had PlayStation VR, the first PlayStation VR to go with it as well.
Yes. God. And
technically, you could have said the Nintendo 64 when you could buy that little expansion pack you could put in. That was like an N64 Pro, wasn't it?
Yeah, N64 Pro.
Allowed you to play certain games you couldn't play with the
DDR add-on.
Yeah, it was a memory. It was a memory pack, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, the Rumble memory pack, and then the DDR base unit that it would sit on top of, and you get like bigger cartridges. They were massive cartridges that would go in underneath.
The N6 you just put it in by the top.
Yeah, but there was a secondary add-on as well that enhanced it even further, and it was like a plate that sat underneath the N64. And it was it was pretty interesting. They look like, you remember I don't know if you'll know this, Martin, but that probably sounds really condescending. I don't mean it that way, but do you remember like the big zip drives you used to get in the like early 2000s? And they were like, I don't even know how to describe them. They were these blue zip drives, probably the size of my hand, and you could get 100 megabyte on there or something like that. It was crap. But they used similar technology for that console as well. So. Yeah.
But yeah, VR came out on the PS.
PSVR was a not too bad because it was okay. It wasn't cheap, but it wasn't that expensive. It had some okay games on it, and and it ran pretty well. Just the most recent one, it doubled the cost of the console. There's not very many great games for it, and although apparently I think it's Apple are working with Sony to use the PSVR 2 controllers with the Apple Vision Pro. How they're going to do that, I don't know.
Tim Cook has just announced they're no longer making or manufacturing the Apple Vision Pro, so maybe they need to do something to shift the extra 30,000 units they're hiding.
Oh, blimey. That's a lot of money.
But we did step into, I think from the PS4 onwards, we did step into a very generic, boring time for innovation in the gaming industry.
Well, except for how the PS5 looks.
Yeah.
That was never boring. Although I personally, I know obviously I am an Xbox user, but I really didn't like it from day one. How the PS5 looked.
The only innovation was the Nintendo Switch in this era, I think.
Yeah.
The only innovation with the PS5 is its controller, and that's not much of a innovation, is it? The haptic feedback or whatever they call it.
Yeah, the what do they call it? The triggers. The ones that basically, if you do the drawstring on a bow, it will push back.
Yeah, the tension on it.
Yeah, that was a fantastic thing. I did really like that.
Well, the one thing we haven't spoken about when we was talking about the PlayStation 3 was the banana controller. Does anyone remember that? Which I'm just sending you all an image so you familiarize yourself very quickly. So when they first announced it was coming out, they announced a different style of controller.
Yes.
And it looked like a boomerang. And it was, I think there was actually some examples that you could use at E3, but then they went back to the original style of controller.
Yeah, you only needed that length of a bonus if you had thumbs that were about 10 inches long.
Yeah.
It wasn't really. I thought you meant what was the Samba de Amigo, wasn't it? The
oh God.
drums.
Yeah, no.
But that wasn't PlayStation, was it?
Didn't even cross my mind, that one.
The bongos.
Best left in the past.
No, you said about banana control. I thought you meant literally like a banana controller. But, so if you had to pick one PlayStation era, and Desert Island PlayStation era, you can only pick one. Which would you pick?
God.
You can only take one console with you to a desert island. We'll just say that no internet. So I suppose that will help. For me, it probably although a PlayStation 1 has the great memories, I think PlayStation 2 eventually for me it will be PlayStation 2.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Everything from Tekken Tag Tournament to Metal Gear Solid 2 to GTA San Andreas, such good stuff. And then you could have the network adapter as well if you really wanted the internet. The early days of the internet.
And the optional HDD drive that you could slot in the back. Yeah.
So hang on. So it had a DVD player, and you could put in a HD DVD. Who on earth would buy that when you got a DVD?
I know. No. Sorry, no. This was storage media, not.
Oh, a hard drive. A hard drive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. And
yes. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, and then the network adapter would go on the back of that. So.
Yeah, because I remember going around to a friend's house and they had the network adapter. And they were playing Pro Evo.
Yeah.
They're playing Pro Evo online. I'm like, what? So this is. Yeah, I'm playing somebody. Oh wow, excellent. Because I had the PC and yeah, I was playing online with 100 people on Castle Wolfenstein. But Martin, any which era would you prefer?
Either the PS2 or the PS4. I think.
Yeah,
the two probably that high.
Yeah, I think the PS3 era, although it was where PlayStation developed into the behemoth they are now. But yeah, PS2 and PS4 is probably their strongest. I'd agree.
But scrap all of that and just take the Vita to the desert island. It's much more simple.
Of course, we haven't even touched on their handhelds, but
we spoke about the PS5 either, but
yeah, well,
I don't really think any of this generation is.
There's nothing special, is there? They're all just the same thing.
The Steam Deck's special of this generation.
Yes, definitely. Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, the Legion
generation or the Switch, the previous generation. I don't know.
Switch is previous generation, I think, and I think the Steam Deck is probably, although it's older tech, it's still probably considered this generation.
So the Switch is with the PS4 and the Xbox One.
Yeah,
and the Switch 2 will be.
It's Nintendo, is it? Nintendo do their own thing.
Wii
U with the PS3. And
blimey.
Yeah. And the generation timelines have shrunk. Have you noticed that? So they're not. Whereas they would stick around longer, they're shrinking now. They're going backwards again. So.
Well, it's 7 years, isn't it? Generally, and so if a new PlayStation comes out in the next 2 years, then it'll be shorter. Because it was 2013, the previous generation, I think, started.
What was it back in the Mega Drive and Super Nintendo days? I can't remember.
Oh, blimey, now you're asking. It's about 7 years. Was it like 88, 89? Ish. Like but right. So it's we've got a shorter episode this week because we're also won't reveal that we're recording Christmas episodes as well. Whoops, daisy! Did I just say that? So let us know your favourite PlayStation memories, and do you agree with our picks of PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 4 as the best generations?
Let us know if you're going to buy the special edition of the PlayStation, the 30th anniversary. Even
if you can get one.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can get hold of one, if you're willing to pay £1,000, probably for one that isn't from a scalper, probably from a scalper you're looking.
At least easily $1,000 just for the basic, probably.
And obviously they're hinting now at having another PSP coming out.
Yeah.
After the success of the PlayStation Portal.
Yeah, so you'll be able to install PS5 games locally. But I think we talked about it. I think it'll be a closed system. So me personally, that I'm out at that point. If you've already got a library, great. But if you're, unlike the Steam Deck where you can get cheap games and all this, no. But it will probably be a very good quality piece of kit. But when do you see that coming out? 2026?
It's got to be in it. It's because they're going to have to see what the Switch 2 does first, and then adapt from there.
Right. Well, find all our previous episodes and future episodes at focusongaming.co.uk. And on that PlayStation note,
Bye.